The name of this operation, of the Hamas operation, is Al-Aqsa flood, referring to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. How much of this attack is about the Al-Aqsa Mosque?
In actuality, I don't think any of it is, but the Al-Aqsa Mosque is something that all of the Shia jihadists have used for years in order to justify their actions that are aggressive towards Israel. So this is something I'll maybe even take a step back and go through. When I was working initially in my first year on the peace plan, I was doing a lot of listening. And quite frankly, a lot of what people were saying to me didn't make sense. And the reason why I was trying to figure out, they were talking about sovereignty over Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is a mosque that's built in the Holy of Holies, the Haram al-Sharif in Israel, where the Jewish Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, was built in a very religious place. About after the temple was destroyed, then there was a big mosque built there, and it's one of the more holy places in Islam now. So the big thing everyone was saying is, what do you do with this land where you have a mosque built over a very big Jewish site? And I was hearing all of the experts, and I always say experts with quotes because only in Washington can you work on something for a decade and continue to fail, and then you basically leave and are considered an expert. But that's one of the problems with Washington, which maybe we could talk about later. But the notion here was, I went and I said, let me try to understand what the issue is with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with the people, right? I always felt the politicians were a little disconnected. So I commissioned several focus groups, one in Amman, one in Cairo, one in Dubai, and one in Ramallah. And I asked, people, Muslims, what is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict about?
Mm-hmm.
And time again, the most popular thing that they said was that Israel was not allowing access to the mosque for Muslims to pray. And what was interesting is that Israel's policy is to allow anyone who wants to come and pray peacefully at the sites to come and pray. Sometimes they have security issues when there's provocations. But by and large, since 1967, when Israel was able to take back Jerusalem in a defensive war, just to be very clear, they were attacked in the south and they were attacked from the east. And they basically were able to beat back the Jordanians and the Egyptians and then reconquer the old city of Jerusalem. And during that time, immediately after, Israel then passed the Protection of Holy Places law, which was, they basically took resources they didn't have and they said, we're going to restore the Christian sites, the Muslim sites, the Jewish sites. And they've worked to allow everyone access to the mosque. So today, any Muslim who wants to come can come and pray at the mosque. The mosque is, Israel's acknowledged that King Abdullah, the King of Jordan, is the custodian of the mosque. And as long as people want to come to the country and pray peacefully, they're able to do that. But if you look at a lot of the propaganda that's been used by ISIS or Iran to recruit terrorists or to justify their incursions, they often say they're doing it in the name of liberating the Al-Aqsa Mosque. But from an operational and pragmatic perspective today, any Muslim who wants to go to the mosque, you can book a flight to Israel now through Dubai because there's flights between Israel and Dubai. And as long as your country has relations with Israel and they'll accept your passport in there, you can come and pray. And that's what Israel wants. Israel wants Jerusalem to be a place where all religions can come and celebrate together. But you have a lot of actors that look to find ways to use these religious tensions in order to sow division and justify violent behavior.
I wonder how it's possible to lessen the effectiveness of that propaganda message, that a lot of the war, a lot of the attacks are about access to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Is there something you can speak to why that message hasn't disseminated across the Arab world?
So Israel's good at a lot of things. They're not very good traditionally with public relations. After the Abraham Accords, we made the first Abraham Accords deal in August 2020, and then we made 5 other deals. We first did United Arab Emirates, then we did a deal with Bahrain, then we did a deal with Kosovo, then we did a deal with Sudan, then we did a deal with Morocco, and then we got the GCC deal done as well. The tension between Qatar, Saudi, UAE, Egypt, and Bahrain, and that was allowing us to create a pathway to then pursue the Israeli-Saudi normalization. So we had so much momentum then that the goal was just keep getting more countries to normalize relations with Israel. once you create the connection between people and create the ability for people to do business together, the ability for flights to fly between, then you would just start naturally having people coming, and everyone has a smartphone today, so they can then post and combat the misinformation that's been out there. By the way, this misinformation is not something that's new. One of the characters who played a very big role in spreading the anti-Semitism and the violence in Israel in the 1920s was a guy named Haj Amin al-Husseini, who was known as the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. He was very close with Hitler and Mussolini, and he was working with them to try to get some claims to the Middle East once the Jewish people were annihilated. And what he did for a very long time was he did the same shtick, only it was before you had smartphones and YouTube, where he would say the mosque is under attack, these imperialist Zionists are coming in to try to destroy the mosque. And he would use that to raise money from Indonesia, from Pakistan, from all over the world, and then use that threat to justify recruiting groups of young, vulnerable Muslim men, and then getting them in the name of religious rights to go and kill people, which really is more of a perversion of the religion than I think the true essence of what Islam is. I think Islam at its core is a peaceful religion, and I think that's where a lot of the great leaders in Islam want to take it. But the people who use Islam or the mosque or as a justification for violence, those are people who I think are really they are disrespecting the Islam religion.